So the sketch contains an entity which is unsuitable geometry. I mean, that is the worst piece of news you can get because it doesn't give any detail, does it? It doesn't really say what the problem is, right? It just
Right.
kind of says, it doesn't work and I don't know why, and it's not, so don't
I
try
don't know
it.
why either.
You know what I'm paying attention to is just over on the left side, the boss extrude feature that you've got. I just kind of glance over some of the different details you've got here. There's a button down here that says auto select and selected bodies. This might be maybe something to look into. Sometimes when auto select is picked, the computer tries to do what it wants to do and it can't, so it sort of gets confused. I don't know. Let's jump back over to SolidWorks and take a look at your file.
There is another screenshot that I sent it to you. Like when I insert the AI, the Dxf file, so the software shows me that
Entities within a block can't be merged with entities in other block. The explode blocks option is recommended for merging.
and I hit yes.
And you hit yes. Okay. And what sketch was this for? Was this all for the power button?
Well, so first time, yes, I saved the power button individual as one file.
Okay.
But then, the things came out and I saved everything into one file. And then I inserted again. It shows me like that again.
Okay.
Like nothing changed.
Okay. So when you say you inserted it, was that from Illustrator? You combined two bits of line work together?
Mm-hmm. The
Okay.
Dxf.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, I also sent you my Dxf.
We have that.
File. Yeah.
Okay, so let's try it again. First of all, I mean, it recommends to use the explode block feature. So, if that's not clear, you right click on the block here in the design tree down here, and there's explode block there. And what it does is it undoes the block. So sometimes that can reveal some issues. Yeah, you can see right here, it started to give me a little bit of a problem. The sketch has not been updated because solving it would result in invalid geometry such as zero length. Oh my gosh. Okay, so we have invalid geometry somewhere in this sketch and we have to find it. We don't know where it is. Changing relations or dimensions to eliminate the invalid geometry. The second bullet point here tells me that maybe we might be able to find some additional issues if we edit the sketch and look at the sketch relations that go on that sketch. I'm just going to do one trick here. I'm just going to go select all. Here's our sketch.
I actually had this problem as well, and the thing that fixed it was I went into Illustrator and I made sure all the paths were joined.
Yeah. Look at this, how this one's red like this. I just edited the sketch and just looked at it, and that's starting to give me questions. And then this knot looks weird. I don't see what the problem is, but there, if I zoom on it that much, it looks like there's two dots maybe. Not quite sure what's going on there, but that looks bad. Let's look at this side. This is, yeah, look at it, it's separating into two dots. If you guys can see that, that's a microscopic little problem. So I think James, you might be right. I think getting back into Illustrator and joining these together might be the way to fix it. Let me see here. If I select these two, there's two splines. Dun, dun. Yeah. I think that's the right move, is to jump back into Illustrator. The other thing that's a little odd too is down here, you've got a point, but on this one, you don't have a point. So I think, yeah, the solution is to go back into Illustrator. Why don't we try to jump over here to Illustrator and just take a look at your Dxf file. Let's see here.
Sure. And thank you, James.
Yeah, no problem. I just have to remember where I got your file from. Let's see, here it is. So I'm going to go open with Adobe Illustrator. This is just kind of good for everybody to see. I know it's not exactly helpful, but it's, you know, just sometimes to see the tediousness of what you have to do to fix a problem. Okay, so
Why
Illustrator.
the files like this?
That's bad. I think it's a stroke issue. I think there's maybe some stroke problems going on here.
Okay.
Yeah, so there we go. So I just put it at a 1-point stroke. So let's take a look. Here's your graphic, right? This is the one that you want to make.
Right, right.
And is this, did you follow all the correct procedures as far as like how to make this thing with the, you know, outline stroke tool and everything, where you go path and then you outline the stroke? Everything there worked?
Yeah, I think so, but I don't know what happened.
So we know that we've got problems kind of in this neighborhood up here at the points here, but I can't really see anything that's wrong.
Yeah, that's my question also. I was like, I did actually following up our, you know, steps, but why this happened?
Yeah, I think, you know, one piece of good news for this graphic here is that the fact that we can switch it to a solid graphic like that, both of these, is a pretty good indicator that the line work itself could be okay. Normally, if you have open-ended line work in Illustrator and you try to fill it, it will look funny. We'll just put it that way. So that's kind of a good thing. I think I just cut the graphic out of your file here and put it into a new AI file. And then I'm just going to kind of walk through the steps again of exporting out a Dxf file. And let's just see if we can get it to run. Hey, Mofix, Dxf on the desktop. And then back here in SolidWorks, we're just gonna let this sketch be on its own and go away. And I'll use the plane that you created here. That's a good one. So we'll insert and go DXF, and we'll get Mofix right there. And we should remember this part.
Millimeters.
Set this to millimeters. Dun, 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 dun.
See?
Aha! Yeah, so it happens to me too. Entities within a block cannot, which is so odd that it's already trying to like talk to us about blocking the sketch when we didn't even try to block anything yet. Okay, so here's our sketch, at least. Let's take a look at it. Yeah, okay. So we're editing the sketch. Let me just try while we're here to just extrude some line work off of it and see what happens. Oop, normal 2. Oh, this little tiny thing. Yeah, see, in SolidWorks, it's really not liking this one. There's a button right here that's called Selected Contours that can sometimes help in a situation like this, where you hit Selected Contours and then you select the interior of these closed bits of line work, and then that should allow us to kind of get the extrusion to work. So that's like it worked there. Okay, so that feels good, but I'm still not convinced. So again, guys, selected contours, if you don't know what that means, contours are like curves and lines that you draw, curvy lines that you draw in the computer. Anytime you see the word contours, it means like sketches or drawings or 2D line work. So sometimes you just need to give SolidWorks a little bit of an extra nudge and say, like, here's exactly what I want you to fill. I want you to take the interior of this. It's hard to get in there because this thing's so small. Come on, get it. There. There's 1 and 2. So we're on the right track.
Jim, can you put the power button logo into the down below surface, like what we did?
Yeah, I can. I'm just going step by step to try to see where we're going to hit problems.
Okay.
So
Okay.
now that we've gotten it to work, kind of, I'm going to grab that and I'm going to block it now. Now we'll try the block and see what happens. Okay. And then I'm going to click on it and we'll scale it up, say 10.
I think 13 is gonna be good.
10, 13, okay. Take
yeah.
13. All right.
13, 12, that's gonna be fine.
All right. Well, now. So one thing that you want to make sure when you're doing this kind of maneuver here is that you don't have any overlap between the edge of this surface or something like that. You want to make sure that you guys are fully projecting onto the meat of the surface and not overlapping. So that's just one quick tip there. Okay, so let's try again. Go with Boss Extrude. This time, I'm going to try it a different way where I'm going to just grab the sketch in the design tree here. Oh boy.
Yeah, that's my problem.
It still doesn't like it. Yeah, it's still not, it's not feeling it. It's not giving us the go ahead. So you have to actually click in selected contours and then try to get that. And if it's not working while it's blocked, let's unblock it and see if that works. So we're going to explode the block, but not delete. So 1 and 2, and we'll have it start from the surface here. There it goes.
Oh, okay.
Voila. Okay, so we'll set that to 1, and we've got it. So it looks like, the issue here is that there's something up with the line work back in Illustrator. Let's just jump back over to Illustrator and look at this thing. Since I wasn't here to see you make the line work, I can't say what happened, but we started to get an idea of how to fix it when we found out that you could change this to a fill and there was no issue. That was our first kind of like idea, like this is not, it's not like the sketch is bad. There's something going on with the Dxf file in SolidWorks, and because of that, it just needed this additional little trick where you go to selected contours and you choose the interior of the enclosed sketch, and that got it to work.
So which means I can't make it block, right?
Yeah, for some reason the block tool was just not, it wasn't working. And
so after I adjust everything, like the size or the dimensions or something, I have to select the explode.
that's right. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, so we tried to block it and we were able to block it and scale it and move it. And then in order to get the extrude tool to work, we had to unblock it. We had to explode the block.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, blocks in SolidWorks are a strange thing, especially the way I teach them. So the way that SolidWorks really uses blocks is actually in an engineering fashion for creating gears. And like if you want to have a sketch of a gear that'll actually move another sketch of a gear, you can put physical properties on a blocked sketch. And that doesn't make sense until you got like years of engineering experience with SolidWorks. But when I learned it, I took a class at Go Engineer that was advanced part making for engineering. And it was when they showed us the block tool, I was like, well, that'll just be a good way to move around sketches without destroying them all. So Mo, one more question, you know, since we're looking at your work here.
Yes.
These other graphics, have you tried to import any of those and make buttons out of them?
They all failed.
They all did, really?
Yeah.
This one,
I don't know why.
this one I think would fail, the Bluetooth thing here. Just because it's a straight line and it looks like your line weight is so super small. 0.25 is really, really tiny. So I think you'd probably have to bring this one up quite a bit. It's split right there. Huh, hold on. Okay. Yeah, see this one's a little odd as well, like how it fills like, looks like it's split in sort of odd areas. You see that?
Yeah.
Idea of what happened there?
When I'm making it, I make that separate.
Okay.
But how can I connecting with each side?
So if you have a collection of sketches like this, you can right click on all of them and then you should be able to join them together.
I
James,
use group them.
okay, grouping is not the same as join. Let's see. Is it under path? James, jump in and tell me where's join. There it is. Okay. So join is like join in Rhino, where it actually creates a single piece of geometry out of multiple pieces of geometry. And as opposed to group, what group does is group takes multiple pieces of geometry and allows you to grab onto them and use them as if they were one piece. So it's different. So now that this is all one piece, you go object, path, join. Then we can play around with like getting the scale of the line weight up a little bit. And then we go to that trick, right? Path and outline stroke. And we should be able to take this piece like this and export just the selection. Nope. Let's just put it into a new file. We'll go export. And we'll just jump over to SolidWorks. Oops. Is this going to bring all of them in? Yeah, that's what I thought. We don't want that. Hey. Here we go. Does that work? So look at, we're getting the same problem again. Let's see if we have to use the same technique. Look at that. Enable blocks. Trouble. Let's look normal too. I think the sketch looks good, but there's issues like this. Look at that. That's a little weird. I think this is weird enough that if this was my file, I would actually just take out these broken sketches here and redraw them here in Rhino, or sorry, in SolidWorks. Oh, I'm just going to take my straight line tool, fix that up. There's more of that stuff happening down here. It's a very odd situation here. Hey guys, anybody else in the class have any issues like this where you're seeing like differences in the line work that you're getting in SolidWorks versus what you drew in Illustrator?
For me in Illustrator, I just drew the whole thing as one drawing, like one line instead of flipping and joining then two different drawings, which kind of helped. And then I joined that one line before I ended up making the outline. And in that way, it just was a lot easier. But my problem with this one was that it ended up extruding the interior triangles instead of the outside. I don't know how I got it to extrude the actual symbol and not just the interior triangles, but eventually it worked after like a lot of different clicking.
Yeah, I told you about my technique of click all the buttons until it works.
I clicked all the buttons.
It's real.
And it worked.
Yeah, I don't just make this stuff up. It's a professional technique. So here we go again. Let's see, this is working right off the bat.
I also have a problem with this one.
Uh-huh.
So I drew it in Illustrator, and but it does not show up the inner circle. So it show up as a full triangle instead of a line work of a triangle.
Oh, interesting. So it came up as straight lines instead of an outline like this?
Yes.
Oh, wow. Well, that sounds like that's part of the issue is back in, back here in Illustrator. You got to take your line work like that. You got to put a big, thick outline on it. And you got to do this trick here where you go to Object, Path, and outline the stroke. And then that'll give you the outline of the single line.
Oh, I drew my Bluetooth symbol was like with the grid and making sure that your smart guides are on to make sure that you're clicking like end to end to end. So everything is joined. And that way you don't get any funny business.
No funny business. That's definitely not what we want. Hey, Nico, you had some pretty slick Illustrator drawings in Studio, right? I mean, where are you guys learning Illustrator from? Is this?
I learned Illustrator in DC2 with the motorcycle rendering. I don't know if anyone else had that, but that's like where I got all my skills from. So we were just using Illustrator like nonstop.
You know what's funny? Nobody taught me Illustrator in design school. I went to SF State before I went to CCA, and I learned Illustrator there. And there was nobody teaching Illustrator at CCA when I went there. There was a Photoshop class with somebody from Hot Wheels, and she would bring us into class. She would have us open the online tutorial manual for Photoshop, and then she'd say, "Please do chapters 1 through 3, and I'll be back at the end of class." And she'd just leave, and then we'd all sit there and do renderings of like silly stuff in the manual for Photoshop. It's terrible. Anyway, I'm on the right track with this piece at least. The block seems to be working. Just guys, everybody just get into the habit of really investigating, just zooming in a lot. Like if you see things like this where there's strange points kind of hanging out, or if your line work is segmented in odd ways and you feel like you could redraw your line work in SolidWorks easier, like I just did, then that's a good way to handle it. Native line work will always work better than imported line work in a CAD software. So yeah, this seems to be plain ball. Let's see if we can do what we want to do with it and set it to surfaces. Set it to this surface. All good in the hood. Unmerge it if we want. That's that. It worked. Okay. So, yeah, I think that, you know, going back again to your file, like when you see that your file was, when I saw that your file was segmented and broken up down here on this edge right here, those breakpoints were all the same place where I had to do the fix in SolidWorks. So, yeah, I would just, you know, I think James's advice of using smart guides in a grid is a good one, and just try to be as minimal as possible with all your line work.
Okay.
Yeah, just dig in on.
Is there issues where the lines aren't like joined properly?
Yeah, there's issues in the transfer from an AI file into a DXF. Sometimes there's like a, it's not a rasterization or something like that, but there's a small kind of microscopic adjustment between file types, and sometimes you can get some oddities that way, where the DXF file will kind of accentuate any non-perfectly drawn line work in Illustrator. So you just need to be extra careful when you're making graphics and stuff like that.
I think if your lines are separated, you can click both of them and press Command J, which joins them together into
Yeah.
one solid thing.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Thanks. I
Yeah.
was click the Command G, so I grouped them at first.
Yeah, J will actually like put them together into one whole piece. So yeah, hopefully that helps though for you.
Got it. I'll try that later.
Yeah. Yeah, Mo, you love to group things. We did this in too. You're down with grouping. There's a time and a place for that, but yeah.
Thank you, guys.
Join in Rhino and join in Illustrator. So who else had problems then? Because was it Sylvia who had emailed me also? Who else wants to jump in with a quick issue?
Yeah, I had some problem as well.
Okay, yeah, Harsh, what you got for me? Let's see. I think you emailed me recently today, even, right? Let's see. Yeah, let's see. You got an image for us to check out, and I can't see what that says. Okay. So tell us, do you have a file for me in here? Or do you want to share your screen? What do you want to do here? You can fix your problem. The sketch has intersecting contours. Pick a sketch entity to define an open or closed contour. Let's see. Huh. Harsh, are you there?
Oh, sorry, I'm in unmute. I'm talking.
That's okay. Yeah. Let us know. So do you want to send me a file or share your screen and kind of walk us through the problem you're having?
Yeah, if you can stop sharing, I can like share.
Okay, cool.
I will share. So this Zoom thing is like, this was my problem and my SolidWorks files. You can see my screen.
Yeah, I can see.
Yeah, I was not able to like add the Bluetooth, but I was able to add all these three, but not
Okay.
the Bluetooth one. Like, yeah, I don't know. That's a comment what I'm receiving like when I do this. Yeah.
Do you want to just edit that sketch for us and look at it like normal too, so we can see it straight on?
In the Illustrator?
No, in
Oh,
SolidWorks. In SolidWorks, yeah.
What you want? Yeah.
Okay. I think it's a Pathfinder issue. If you keep zooming it, do some other stuff for me. And can you turn off all the glossiness and all of the shine and shadows in your render? So over to the right a little bit. There on the last icon in that heads up display, yeah, turn off real view graphics and shadows. Yeah, that's what we want.
Yeah.
Okay. And then just if you zoom in on the graphic itself, you see how you have overlapping lines on that,
Yeah.
that arrow right there?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
That's cool.
that's the thing. And you got to go back into Illustrator and you got to use the Pathfinder tool to join that one arrow into those two triangles.
Oh, okay.
But
So
then
after
also zoom in on one of the points of the triangles, just any of them, because they look a little thick to me. Are they joined? Yeah, okay. All right.
So I have another question as well. So
Yeah, what else you got?
like I was able to do the linear, what's that, like filleting, but I was not able to do the circular thing. Yeah, I was able to do the linear patterns,
Okay.
but I couldn't like do the circular one.
It looks like you got it. Let's see. You've got a linear pattern and a circular pattern.
Yeah, but it was not working.
Oh, and the fillet didn't do the circular pattern.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
see.
the
I
fillet.
see. Okay, cool. Looking at your design tree, you've got fillet number 2 and fillet number 3. Which one of those fillets is running on the linear pattern?
I think fillet 3 is going on linear pattern.
Okay.
So, yeah, that should be fillet 3. Yeah.
So let's check. Can you edit the circular pattern number 1? Just go edit feature. Let's take a look at it.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. So what you've got to do is you've got to add the fillet into the features list. See where that says features and faces, that blue box? You've got to add the fillet in there. So open up your design tree. See how you've got your design tree right
Yeah.
there? Yeah. Yeah, open that up. And then fillet 3, if you can. Fillet 3 is in the middle, kind of.
Yeah, I found it.
Yeah, there you go. Add that in. That should do it. That's the fix. You're adding that into the pattern as one of the things to pattern around. And let's see if it fails, because remember with me, it failed. I had to hit geometry pattern button that no one knows what it does, but it fixes stuff sometimes. Right, so here we go. So now hit options, geometry pattern.
Selected body.
Yeah. And then say, okay. Aye. Okay, deselect geometry pattern. SolidWorks. Let's try again.
So should I do that again?
Yeah, try it again. Hit it again.
Like selected bodies?
Yeah, uncheck auto select.
Yeah.
Let's be the one to say, and then just click that thing it's trying to pattern into, that big body right there. Just click that.
Sorry, what am I supposed to do?
Just the main. Yeah, that's the one. Yeah, that main body there. Yeah, that should do the trick. Perfect. And then try that. Green check box. Oh, the suspense. Deselect geometry, and you have geometry. Fun stuff. Okay. Let's keep following along. Now we're going to uncheck geometry pattern one more time. Let's see. Yeah. Seems really close. Hit the green check box and approve that and see if it works.
Oh, sure.
No love. Okay. Cannot fillet a tangent edge. Huh. All right, well, we're gonna have to dig in on that one a little bit more. I don't know what's going on with it. Cannot fillet a tangent edge means usually something along the lines of two edges that aren't touching proper. So I'm afraid this one's going to take a little bit more investigation to look into.
Okay, I've sent the file to you, so you can maybe later.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
If anything, the lesson learned is just how, you know,
Yeah, sure.
how sometimes you got to just try stuff out. But you're on the right track. The good news for you is that everything looks to be set up correctly. My next couple moves that you can maybe try on your own time, I would say maybe just lessen the size of that fillet a little bit, you know,
Okay.
and also the instances of the circular pattern, like if it's duplicating all the way around the circle and coming back around to itself and trying to put two cuts on the same spot, that might be another thing. So that,
I tried doing that, but
oh
still,
yeah,
yeah.
no love, huh? Okay, well, we'll get you there. Don't worry. I just wanted to kind of see if there was anything we could take away from that, and I'll dig in on it later, and I'll get back to you with that.
I have one more, the question, like with the Bluetooth thing you said, like I'm doing the Pathfinder thing. Even after doing a Pathfinder, do I need to join it or no?
Yeah, I'm thinking that yes, that's a big lesson for us all today, is to join your line work after you've made it in Illustrator.
All right.
We want that line work to be clean and joined. Yeah.
I'll stop this.
Oh, and another thing is that you should try to make sure that you join your interior lines and then also the lines that you make like the outside path, because you have to do both of those separately.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah.
Actually, I didn't get what he's trying to say. Like I selected everything and I joined it. Is that the way I'm doing?
Join your sketch that you do before you create the outside lines, the outside path or whatever, and then increase the size of the outside path to like 1 point, and then join those lines as well. So that way you have a solid on both the inside and outside.
Got it. Thank you, James. Thanks, James.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, cool, guys. We're going to be spending a little bit more time getting familiar with Illustrator, or we're going to be making some line work that will be kind of bouncing from program to program through Illustrator. So we're not entirely out of the woods with Illustrator yet, so we'll get more practice on that. Why don't we jump over to Rhino and open up that little file that I made for everybody, class line work. The theme of what I wanted to just show you guys is, you know, if you were to want to make a set of 2D drawings out of a Rhino file, how do you pull that off? So the big command that we're going to be running here is going to be called make 2D, and it's got a lot of settings to it, and there's a lot of kind of finicky little rules that we need to kind of memorize. So I made this little set of line work here to just kind of get us started. So the idea with this piece here is that we're just going to do a quick revolve on this thing. So we can just kind of do that together. I'll grab my, and if you're like me, and you should have like a fairly that should be a fairly jarring experience to be back in Rhino after being in SolidWorks land. That's a little bit on purpose on my part. I'm trying to put you guys in a state of uncomfortability, but yeah, this curve here and this curve here can be a revolve. And so I'm just going to revolve this into a 3D shape. Remember Rhino, you know, the hotkey is U for a full revolve. Okay. And then I've got another little piece here that I want to revolve. That'll be this. I don't know what this thing is, by the way. I just wanted it to be something. Maybe it's like a, we'll call it like a smoke alarm or something like that. A really, really designed one.
Jim,
Yeah,
do we need to following with you right now?
you don't have to. No, you,
Okay.
I don't want you to get bored. So if you need something to click on, then you can follow along if you want. So,
Okay.
so I'm just going to revolve this thing. I promise I will. My hope is that when we start our final project in the class, that you guys are going to be kind of comfortable sort of flipping back and forth between both CAD programs and kind of using each one for what it's best at. I think, in my opinion, you know, clearly SolidWorks makes the idea of circular patterns a little bit easier. Anything that needs to be repeated or things that need to be adjusted, like fillets and stuff like that. Whereas Rhino's pretty good at creating kind of basic shapes and kind of what I call theoretical shapes. You know, they're like untreated, hard-edged kind of shapes. That Rhino's a lot better at that. So kind of like where you guys are at with your studio projects right now, where it's like you're kind of mulling around like initial concepts and they're not really fully fleshed out, and you're just sort of pitching shapes, trying to figure out like what could this be, not what is it, and that's kind of the sort of zone where Rhino really comes in handy. So fire alarm, whatever, we'll call it that, and this thing's feeling pretty big for the size of this grid here. I think I just give myself a little bit of a bigger grid to kind of work off of. So why don't I just go to, let's go to properties, and we'll go down to grid, and we'll give ourselves 500 grid lines. There we go. I'm going to put this into ghosted mode here. And, oh, I've got some feet too. I almost forgot my little feet. So let me do that. I'm just going to put a little bit of, yeah, that'd be that. And I'll revolve that guy. There's a foot. And then what I'll do with that guy is I'll do a circular, or not a circular pattern, but a polar array, since we're over here in polar array. Hello, here it is. Just a few of those feet. Let's see. I think we just need probably 3. So I'm going to put that right there. There we go. Cool. All right, so I'm just going to grab all of this stuff, jump over here to my side view, and just make sure that I'm sitting on the ground plane. This red line is kind of the ground plane. So, okay, if this thing is my fire alarm and the request comes down the pipeline from our supervisor that we want to make 2D line work out of this thing. So what's the plan? Most of what I've taught you guys about Rhino so far happens here in the perspective view. And I've kind of taught you guys to go from perspective view and jump back and forth between this side view and the orthographic views, really kind of as needed. For this process, we really want to be in the 4-panel view. And there's some tricks to kind of organize the 4-panel view. I know that some of you guys have like experimented with making windows different sizes for the window you like best. There's ways to reorganize that kind of thing if you haven't done so. So when you get into this situation where you want to make proper line work, it's really good to kind of keep an eye on your model from all angles and in a really organized way. So there's this button right here, which is 4 viewports. This will just reset your windows so that they are evenly spaced and they are giving the same amount of real estate to each view of the model. There's also a button right here as well that's called Synchronize View. And what that's going to do is it's going to line up the center line of each of the orthographic views so that they're all in line. So if we hit that button, you can see what it does there. It kind of keeps everything in check. So that's a nice thing as well. So what we're going to do here is called Make 2D, and I'm going to start off by just firing off the tool, and we'll dig in on all the things. So I'm going to start by just selecting the thing that I want to make line work from, and then I'm going to go in here and I'm going to type in Make 2D, and it pops in right away. And this is the options window that comes up. The first little area is the view, and that's whatever view you're currently kind of active in. So Rhino has recognized that I'm working in the perspective view, and so it's set the kind of active view in the 2D tool to perspective. If I had been in the front view or any other view, then this would say that view. There's 4 different types of projection that are available. The first one is a single view. So the way that this works is this will give you the line work of whatever you're looking at in the perspective view. So as you can see here, I'm in this very kind of like bird's eye view of my perspective view. I'm kind of up above the model and I'm looking down at it, and it's very specific, the angle that I'm pointing at it from. Like if you think about myself as the camera, I'm looking at this thing in a very specific way. So if you have the 2D drawing tool set to view, it's going to make a set of line work that's the viewpoint of the camera or yourself. So I'm just going to go ahead and hit OK. Before I do that, let's pay attention to the fact that there's a section down here that says layer name. And what's going to happen when it makes its 2D line work, it's going to take all that line work and it's going to put it onto a layer called Make 2D. Or if you want to name it something custom, you can, name it, something else. You can add stuff to it. So we'll hit OK. And strangely enough, what happens is that the line work is created, okay, but it's placed on the top plane, on the top view over here. So here's the result of the Make 2D operation. And so that's the biggest kind of thing you need to wrap your brain around here, is that you're making 2D drawings and Rhino's trying to be efficient about where it puts those drawings, and it's using the top plane as the place to put all that line work. So things to pay attention to are like, basically what the tool did is it gave us line work that is the exact view of this thing right here. So if I go over to my perspective view and I tilt the view so that it's a lot more steep, or I'm a lot lower to the model like this, and then I run Make 2D again, I select the model there, sorry. Okay, and we use the projection of the view that's looking at the model. It'll give us line work of that view. Okay, so this is the cool part about how Rhino makes 2D line drawing, is that you can kind of customize the 2D line work that you get to whatever angle you want to look at the thing. If you want to look at it like with just a super slight little angle like this, like you can hardly see whatever, that's like a 0-degree ellipse right there, and you run Make 2D and you select it, hit it again, it spits out that same exact angle. Okay. So this is a really cool like idea that you can get editable line work from any angle that you can look at your model in. As far as like presentations and stuff for new designs, this is a really unique thing, and SolidWorks cannot do this. So that's why I would say that it's something that you guys should all definitely know about. If we look at the results in the perspective view, you can see how these sketches end up. They all get flattened down onto that ground plane, and they're also kind of like in perspective, they're kind of warped. They look sort of funny. So it's definitely important to understand that the thing you're trying to get out of this tool is always going to be on the top plane. These are just typical lines like any other type of lines in Rhino. You can turn on edit points if you want to see the crazy edit points that Rhino creates, just to kind of prove the point that they're real line work. Yeah, so that's super helpful, and it's great news for presentation stuff, because what you can do with this line work here, you can select a set of line work just like this. You can go File, Export Selected. Okay, and then from here, you have access to a whole bunch of file types that you can save that line work as, one of them being Adobe Illustrator. So you guys are doing like motorcycle renderings in Illustrator, you know, here's your chance. You make a little bit of CAD, export the line work as an Illustrator line work, and you can use that to do renderings with, and you get perfect perspective on all your renderings. So I'm just going to save this as class demo 2D AI. And when you try to do this export, these are the settings you'll get. I haven't had to change any of them. We'll say OK. We'll jump over to Illustrator, make a new file. I'll just say open. Here's our 2D AI file, and here's our line work. So this is legit AI line work now, totally editable. Line weights can get changed to whatever you want it to be. Let's take a look at some of our line weights, maybe drop them all down to about 0.5. And you can grab the exterior ones, bump those up a little bit, fill in the blanks as needed to kind of fill in the holes. But I thought this is a super helpful thing that Rhino is able to do. And it also is a good way to, if you think about, like, if you're in Rhino and you have a design that you really like and you want to rebuild it in SolidWorks, well, then you now have a path to do that. So if we take a look at the line work that I used to kind of draw this, let me just zoom in here real quick. Perfect. So here's this bit of line work right here. Okay, there's that little, that's the curve that we started with. Select objects. You can, just by selecting that line work there, you can go File and Export Selected, and you can go for like an SW transfer line work. Just go with the misspelling. Here's our AI file, and here's the line work from Rhino. Okay, so then from here, I mean, obviously there's a little fix up that we need to do here and there. See if that worked. Let's check our outline. Yeah. Perfect. And I know this sketch here is, you know, mega simple, and it's not anything complex or anything like that, but it's the technique that I'm trying to show you guys. So if we take this sketch here and we say export as, and we export it as a DXF. we can bring this right over to SolidWorks and make it happen. So I'm going to do that now. Just going to go and fire off a new SolidWorks file. And put a DXF in here. So let's see. This is the one that I wanted. Okay, nice clean sketch straight out of Rhino. I'm just going to block it so I can move it over real quick to here. And I'm going to then take the block off by going explode block. I'm just going to add a little piece of line work right in there to solidify the sketch even further. So this is another kind of good example of like, you know, line work is transferable between both programs from Rhino to SolidWorks, but sometimes you're going to need to do a little massaging when you get into SolidWorks. You know, for instance, the rules are a little different on doing a revolve in SolidWorks here. SolidWorks likes to have a piece of construction geometry to spin around. Rhino doesn't really need that. So you do need to know the rules of how both programs operate when you're bringing sketches or line work from one program to the other and make adjustments as needed. So I'll just finish this off. Revolve boss base. It's kind of winding up again. I'm not going to care. There you go. Okay, cool. So there we go. So now we're here in SolidWorks, and we're using line work from Rhino, and that's a good thing. We can take a look at our solid bodies here to see that we have created a solid. Okay, the line work that we took from Rhino is sitting right there. That's nice. And so now we can start to outfit this thing with some of the parametric features that SolidWorks is best at. So, excuse me, I'm actually in the wrong units. I'm in custom units, so I'm gonna go to millimeters here. And then I'll turn some fillets on. Try some 2 millimeter fillets. Yeah, there's one, maybe another one. Okay, so we'll just soften that thing up just a little bit. No problem. Maybe just to kind of be extreme, we could do another little example of one of the new tools we learned last week or last class, which was what was that thing we did? It was called convert entities, right? And I talked to you guys about converting entities and how that tool kind of works. So you know, if we wanted to punch a hole through the center of this design using this new edge that's created from our fillet, one of the ways we could do that is by making a sketch on the top plane. Okay, if we make a sketch on the top plane and then we grab this edge here and we say convert entities. What that does, to show again what convert entities does, is it reads the edge of the model, creates a sketch that follows that edge, and then it puts that edge wherever the sketch is been created from. So there's a perfect duplicate of that. Bit of line work there, and then we can just do a extruded cut. And you know, there's an issue that I always have with SolidWorks, which is like when I go to do an extruded cut, it always shoots off in the wrong direction. I don't know, this has been happening for years. So there's some tricks to just plain extrudes that I'm not sure I've mentioned yet. One of them is the direction that the extrude goes, right? It's normally set to blind. If we just set it to through all or through all both, what that'll do is it'll tell the single sketch to do the cut extrude through all other geometry in the scene in both directions. So you can see how you get this kind of cross arrow here that's pointing in 2 different directions. So that just means that the extrude tool, the cut extrude tool, is going to read the scene for other geometry. It's going to evaluate all the different bits of geometry that could be cut through, and then it's going to cut through all of those pieces. So green checkbox, and it's going to fail. Okay, cool. Now let's just do through all. Yeah. There we go. I think because there's nothing on one side of the model saying through all both directions, it was saying it wouldn't work. So right now I'm just trying to kind of outfit this model with some of the typical things that SolidWorks is best at. And then what we're going to do is we're going to save this file as something called a step file, and we're going to bring it back over to Rhino to show you how that process goes. So I'm going to put a chamfer edge on here now. And it doesn't want to do that. There we go. Cool. So, what are we making? Now it's it's a terrible ashtray. So I'm just going to save this file as a SolidWorks file now. So I'll file save. And we'll call it from Rhino to SolidWorks. And then this would be considered the working SolidWorks file. Okay, this is the file that you save that you're just going to work in SolidWorks. But let's say you're collaborating with somebody else that's working in Rhino and they want to see your file. What you can do is you can go File, Save As, open up your file types, and go to Step. Okay, there's 2 different types of step. To be 1000% honest with you guys, I don't really know the difference. I always choose AP214 because it sounds like a higher number. It's like as detailed as I get. So we're just going to save it as a step file. The thing about step files is that they are, it's like standard exchange protocol is the name of the file. That's what step stands for. It's for exchanging files between 2 different programs. I like to think about it more like you're going to take a step from one program to the other, like you're stepping on a path. I don't know. You think about it the way you want, but step files are the way to go if you're trying to get from one program to the other. So we're good with this one. We can close this down. Also, save. Okay. Jump over to Rhino again. And this time I'm just going to go File, Open. Yes. And little trick there, when you get over to Rhino, you need to tell it to look for step files. So you need to open this little window up here and look for step. We can take a look at what's happening here. Join surfaces. We're just going to say okay and let it do its thing. Okay. Okay, so here we go. So this is coming from SolidWorks now into Rhino. Let's take a look at what we get. This is the part where you kind of realize that SolidWorks and Rhino each have different up orientations, right? So Rhino is a Z up orientation. SolidWorks is a Y up orientation. So when you transfer things from one program to the other, they always show up sideways. in Rhino, that's pretty easy to just, flip something on its ends. Okay. But here we are now in Rhino with a perfectly typical set of surfaces ready to go. And you can evaluate all this stuff and it's all good. You can explode these surfaces if you need to and take them apart. Okay, if you want to work on these surfaces more, you can use all the tricks you know about in Rhino. So for instance, if I want to just separate this thing a little bit and maybe do like, I don't know what I could do, like maybe a loft or something. Let's do a loft from this edge. Maybe not loft, but let's see here. Looks like that edge is broken. Let's try to join edge. This edge and this edge. Couldn't find it. Okay, so there's one loft, and then we'll do a mirror of that. Okay, take all that, join it together into one piece. We can go ahead and, since we're feeling good about ourselves, we can, we got to connect the interior surfaces there. So that's just going to be typical kind of loft again, or maybe even something like, I think loft again will do the trick. Since we're dealing with a revolve here, it's no big deal to just come in here and take this thing and do a revolve inside there. Anyway, this thing's not going according to plan, but you get the point that, once you get a file over from SolidWorks, you can take it apart and kind of work it as you would any typical sort of Rhino file. Let's take maybe this and explode it. Take this surface and this surface and join that, and then stretch it down. And then you can trim it together. I don't know, cutting objects would be this. Cut that off, and then it would be this and this to cut this off, and there's your patch. Cool. So, I mean, that's a quick run through of kind of typical surfacing, overlapping surfaces, and trimming them together, performing revolves, doing all the things that Rhino does best. And then take all of that, join it together into one. And then to get it back over to SolidWorks, you just file and save as, or export selected, and send it over as a step file. See, Rhino is a little bit different in that it only has one type of step file. So send that step file over there. We'll just call this one 222. There's a drop down here that'll happen when you try to export a step file from a Rhino file, and it's nothing you need to worry about. This is the part that allows you to choose the type of step file. Again, I don't have any gospel on this. I just always kind of go with whatever it suggests. So that's that, and we'll jump back over to SolidWorks and we'll go open. Let's try to open this step file now. So let's see, where's our step files? Okay, here's the new one. We'll say open. this will happen when you try to open a step file from Rhino in SolidWorks. It'll say, do you wish to run import diagnostics on the part? And this is like a checker that will run over your model and check for any gaps or any holes or any problems that could arise. I always say no to this because I'm pretty clean about my CAD work. So when this thing shows up in SolidWorks, it's going to be sideways again. So you got to be kind of ready for that. Like, here's your front view, here's your top view. Okay, so if we go here to the standard kind of orthographic view, it's a pretty good example that this thing is sideways again. It does show up as a single solid body, so that's good, pretty typical. And so the question comes up then, well, if you're going to be importing from one program to another, then what do? Under direct editing, there is a thing here that says move bodies. And that's what we're going to do here. So we're going to hit move bodies, and we're going to select the body that we want to rotate. We're just looking to rotate this thing. For some reason, it's always hard for me to see this, but there's this little drop down here, rotate, which is when we want to rotate. So we're going to unfurl that drop down there, and on the, let's see here, it's the x-axis. It looks like we want to rotate 90 degrees. Let's test it. Yeah, no. Let's see, how about -90? That's right. Okay, cool. So, you know, more fun stuff with SolidWorks. You can see what it gives you. It gives you this ugly yellow preview that's kind of, you know, not exactly what I'd call attractive, but it's something. And once you get used to it, you hope for it. So that will rotate the body back up onto the top plane, and you were good to go, just like that. This thing looks like it's dropped down below the top plane a little bit, so more with the move body commands. You just select your body like this, and you can actually just drag it kind of up into position. It's got this kind of smart gumball looking thing that can help you kind of move stuff around if you need it. So it's important for me to get this kind of in your brains, or at least out on the table, so that you have this skill available. Because, you know, what'll happen for you guys when you get out of DC3 is that you'll get a chance to, you have to kind of make a decision on where you want to go for DC4. Are you going to be a Rhino user, or are you going to be a SolidWorks user? DC4 is only offered for each individual program. So you have to make a decision on which one you want to go advanced with. And, you know, whatever your decision is, it doesn't really matter to me, but I want to make sure you guys know that these two programs are and can be used together all the time. So if you do make the decision to, say, go with Rhino and not SolidWorks, I don't want you to disregard SolidWorks and you know, say I'm never going to use it again, or vice versa for Rhino. If you go with SolidWorks, don't forget about Rhino. It's got its benefits. And you know, here's the example. The files are interchangeable. So save this as a standard SolidWorks file right here, and that's done. Okay, so step files are super important. While I'm kind of here and I'm using this file from SolidWorks in Rhino, I think I'll talk to you guys just a little bit more about making 2D drawings, because that's kind of where I started with this whole thing. Yeah. So let's get back to that, and then if I can wrap it up in a little bit, then maybe I'll just let you guys go early, because I just don't have too much more beyond this sort of key thing. So let's get into that. So I'm going to go here to 4-panel view. And just going to make some 2D drawings of this using the make 2D command. Okay. So we learned before that any angle you like with your model here, you can select it and you can say make 2D, and it will make a 2D bit of line work if you are set on view. Now, if you're set on C-plane, it does a different thing. What it will do is it will make a line drawing of your design and then flatten it down onto the ground plane. So this icon here actually describes it best. Also, if we just click the button and say OK, then we can see what happens. Okay, so you can kind of see what it did there. I'm going to actually hit undo and run it again. Right. So here's the C-plane. So if you haven't caught on to the fact yet that like each of these viewports here is a, it's called a viewport, but it's also an area of construction. These are all construction planes. So by hitting the make 2D construction plane option, you'll get basically a single flat 2D view from the top down of your design. Okay, and here's the example. So here's the bit of line work that was created, and here's the shape that created it. Okay. So just for demo purposes, I'll sort of push this out of the way and get it out of our face. And we'll keep going with the Make 2D tool. So I'm going to select this. I'm going to go Make 2D. And then the last two options basically do the same thing, but for different purposes. Okay. Third angle projection is the standard US regulation style for orthographic drawings, where you have like a side and a front view, and then a top view, and then a 3/4 view in the upper right-hand corner. First angle projection is European and South Asian typical engineering standards, but at this point, it's a worldwide culture we're dealing with. So third angle projection is the only type of 2D drawing I've ever been asked for or seen from anybody else, but a little history on the fact anyway. So what this will do is this will actually, with whatever you have selected here in the perspective view, it will create a front and a side and top view set of line work along with a line work view of the 3D that you have here in your perspective window. So I'll just watch that go down. It takes a second, it goes one by one. There you go. And it kind of awkwardly makes it off to the side here. So you kind of have to know what it's doing there. Okay, so it'll arrive after you perform the operation, and if you don't group it or move it quickly and you happen to click off of it, it all shows up as individual sketches. So you kind of have to treat this as if you drew it by hand. It's all individual little bits of line work, which can be a good thing and a bad thing. So here on the perspective view, for instance, you might not want these contour lines running all over your model. So easy enough, you can just delete them and make, you know, the sketch as complex or as simplistic as you want. That's all good. It's nice. The next thing that you can do here, pay attention to your layers here. Now, this is a unique layer setup because this is an import from SolidWorks. So I just have the one layer from SolidWorks. And then I have the Make 2D layer, which has, it's taken in all of the 2D line work that I've created. You can see here that it breaks up your line work into two parts. So there's something called tangents, which are like the interior line work, and then there's curves, which are the rest of it. So just know that that's how that works, and you can fold up this whole set of layers and hide and show them as needed. You can double click on this layer set here to make it your primary layer, and you can hide your main model. Okay. And then you can use this line work as the line work that you need for presentation purposes, okay? So another point to make too, as we just sort of get through this. I think it's a cool fact about this tool here. If you don't love the 3D angle that is created with this other set of line work, then you can change it by just changing the view of your model here. So say you want a much more flattened out perspective here. So you just look at it in that view and then select the model, and then you go make 2D, set it to third angle projection, say okay. And now you can see the difference between the two versions, right? Version number 1, you've got it at this angle. Version number 2, you've got a different angle. So you get a lot of creative control over the type of line work that you get. So, you know, this kind of pushes Rhino ahead of the pack in terms of who's better at 2D line work, Rhino or SolidWorks. I'm going to give it to Rhino actually, because you have this ability to kind of define the perspective view that you get, and it's just kind of easy, you know. Once you wrap your brain around the idea that you select something here in perspective view and it ends up over on top view, then you're good to go. Okay. So we're almost done here. I've kind of made my points. I'm not going to go through the trouble of showing off the, you know, the third option, which is, what's it called? It's the first angle projection, because you can see here in the icon what it does. It just gives you a different orientation of the same thing we've been talking about. There's some options down here at the bottom, which is something to pay attention to. Right now we have all of our projections set to tangent edges, which, you know, you can see what that does. It kind of gives you all the exterior line work. There's also an option for hidden edges as well. So I think I'll do a view projection of this view with hidden lines turned on, just to show you what that looks like. Here's why I show you this, guys, because it kind of doesn't look good. So what hidden lines does is it will give you like a kind of three-dimensional, like see-through version of the line work. And you can see that it glitches out. Like it just doesn't work. I was trying to find some sort of solution to how to present this to you guys online. And the consensus I got from the Rhino forums and from the greater design community out there is just that hidden line stuff rarely works correctly. So just pay attention to that. So the one we like is the one we've been using, which is the tangent edge setting. So just make sure you've got hidden lines turned off and tangent edges turned on. The last question that should come up here is like, well, how do you turn this into specs? You know, let's imagine ourselves back in the room and Alex is going, well, what size is it? You know, how big is this thing? So the tab that you need to understand is the drafting tab here. This guy will bring you into all your dimensioning tools, just like we have in SolidWorks. So the one I use most is linear dimension. So I'm going to turn that on. And I'm just going to give myself a couple of dimensions. Oh my God, it's so big. What? Why? Oh man. Ay. That's not going to be easy to fix either. Import annotation styles. Let's see. Just try it again. Look at that. Oh, I love it. Offset distance dimension. Let's try this one, radius.
That's the most passive aggressive dimension I've ever seen.
I know, right? Ugh. Oh my God. This is a glitch. I think this is because we brought this over from SolidWorks. It's like, ugh, silly. All right, I'm gonna get back to you on that one, guys. I don't know what that's gonna be me digging into the properties and trying to figure out the font size for the template that we're using. Ugh, so annoying. That should work. Let's see here. Properties, and we've got notes, and we've got grid, toolbars, mouse, modeling aids, cursor. It's one of these. It's going to take me a hot second. Here, let's try a different one. Hold on, let me see here. No, not that. Back to Rhino. I had such a big goal to get you guys. Yes. Figured out for your dimensions, your 2D dimensions, and now it's not working. Did this thing even save? Yeah. So here's the file I was working on when we first started class. Let's see if it holds the same dimensions. And this one's got the opposite problem where the dimensions are really meek and really, really small. There's your dimension for that. Guys, bummer. All right, I'm gonna make you guys a custom tutorial on how to get your dimensions right every single time in Rhino. I guess the easiest thing here would be to take notes on this and then put them into Illustrator. There's a text tool here as well that can be sometimes helpful for if you're trying to add text. It's just right there under the drafting tab. And this should just turn on. Super simple. Just add dimensions. It's not working now. The other tool for making text is here. There's a text object button under the standard tab. You can go here and you can add text. Adding text in Rhino is a little funky. You'll get this text object box that pops up, and you have to type in, you know, what you want it to say. Here is some text. And at least while you're here, you can set the size of the thing, and that's nice. Unlike the dimensions that are set from different settings here. So I'm just going to say okay. And then you can put some text in there. Aha, here's our tool, edit linear dimension tool. There it is. So just double click on the dimension itself and it will allow you to edit the linear dimension. And that's a really nice discovery for all of us. Okay. So then, as I said before, you can take this and you can export it like right out into an AI file. And then from inside the AI file, you could change the color to match your rendering style. You can change the line weights to make them pop more. Or if you're just struggling with ellipses and you want a little help, you can always throw this into Photoshop and use it as a, you know, a nice path background to fill in some airbrushing work and make yourself feel good about your ellipses again. So you can practice more and more. So I'm too interested now to go back to this last one and add some dimensions to this and see if it's adjustable. So let's try that. Annoying. Okay, I'm gonna do it. Aha. So what's going on with this? Okay, so I'm in millimeters. This must be the wrong template that I'm working. I'm trying to like decipher what this is. If this text is in millimeters, that means these units are screwed up. So let's see, what units am I in? Millimeters. Absolute tolerance. All right, well, so we can adjust it. We just have to set it to like 0.0125. And that'll set just the text. It's another one of my tutorials that's just going the long way. Bummer.
There was a tab in there that said edit arrow dimensions and line dimensions as well, if that would help.
Yeah, it might help. Kind of over it. What I was thinking about setting you guys up to do for homework was trying to just go through this process of saving out your SolidWorks files as a step file and then bring them into Rhino and then try to make line work out of that. But for everybody, I want you guys to finish off those graphics because I know that the files that I did see that a lot of them just had the Bose logo alone. So I think that that's, I mean, those are the main takeaways that I wanted you guys to come away with today was how to get that transfer down between the two files or between the two programs, and then how to really kind of learn the ropes of this Make 2D set of line work, because that's something that I think will branch out into Photoshop work, into presentations. It's like it expands itself out into so many different, it's Illustrator skill as well. So I really want to get you guys all familiar with that. And so that's what I was kind of thinking we could do for a project over the weekend is just practice that, saving your files out as a step. Once they're wrapped up with graphics, make some line work in Rhino, and then just throw me like a PDF file with some line work, and do your best to get the dimensions right. I'm not really coming through with proper instructions on how to get those right. They're really going south on me today. But when I was using them before, they were like easy as pie. And I was like, oh, this is going to be so great. So yeah, so that's about where I was kind of hoping to leave it. I mean, what are you guys thinking? Any questions, concerns? How you guys feeling about the speaker project? You know, we've still got the base that we could talk about. Like as a group, I think it would help us to have as much detail as possible for this thing. And if you remember, there's a lot of detail on the bottom that we started talking about when we first started doing this project. So I think that likely what we're going to be up to here is, you know, over the weekend, I want you guys to practice that, you know, 2D stuff, getting that all locked in. Next week, we'll take a stab at trying to make the bottom of this wrapped up. And then we've also got some more details too, like this base as well, which will be awesome because we can do an exploded view of the, not an exploded view, but kind of a floating view of this wireless speaker floating above its wireless dock. And I think that is what would really sell it in an advertising campaign or something like that, to show, okay, this is not just a speaker, this is a wireless speaker, and you can tell because here's the mount. So our goal is to spend another week working on wireless speaker, and then we'll switch over and we'll start doing our final project after next week, which is the binoculars project, which will be like surfacing in SolidWorks. It's going to be a whole new ball game. So I really want to get this one tightened up. This base thing is super simple. If you think about cutting it in half, doing a revolve on it, easy as pie. Huge opportunity for a cool render with some some cool noise texture here. I think there's a lot of things we can do to make this project really sing as far as a first year 3 CAD project goes. And so, you know, I don't think you guys are too far away with what I've seen come down the pipe so far. So I just kind of say that would be where I wanted to go with today's class, guys.
Thanks, Jim.
Yeah. What do you guys think? I mean, you guys got any questions, comments, or anything like that?
I mean, making orthographics is definitely a lot less time consuming when you're using a CAD program, so that's pretty cool.
Yeah. Yeah, you know, I'm kind of glazing over the whole bit about SolidWorks and getting SolidWorks to do orthographics. There's, you know, some stuff I could dig into to kind of show the ropes, but I think I'll just save that for next class because I'm kind of stuttering out on Rhino's dimensions, and I figure I've thrown enough at you guys tonight to that I think you need to practice and get familiar with before we go down the road of SolidWorks drawing files and SolidWorks 2D line work. The thing with, I'll just let you guys know, the thing with SolidWorks's drawing files and 2D drawings is that they're actually linked to the CAD file. So if you edit the line drawing, the CAD file will update with whatever edits are made. So you can actually create a 2D drawing file and give it to somebody. And if they change it and you open that file again on your computer, it'll flip your CAD and change your dimensions and stuff like that. It's a pretty complex thing, and it's a lot more kind of stiff and rigorous. And so I don't want to dilute the instructions on Rhino's 2D operations by throwing that in the mix tonight. So it would be rushed anyway, and I just don't want us to have to go there. So how's that sound? Does that sound okay? Are you guys good to go? I'll give you a little bit of a bump and, you know, give you guys some more time on those graphics, allow you to dial it in, but I think that should keep you guys busy. You got Illustrator work to do, you got Rhino, SolidWorks. We're officially now running on, you know, all the different platforms necessary for a good 3D pipeline. So I'm feeling good about where the class is going.
Real
Do
quick.
we have to include the measurements?
I want you to try. As poorly as it came out, as poorly as it happened today in class, I want you to try it. I think you'll have better luck than I did. I think that my experience was a little bit of a glitch. Yeah, it's not impossible. Just
Okay.
do the best you can and show me that you tried and you'll win. James, you had a question?
Yeah, I just wanted to confirm the homework. So we're just transferring our speaker to Rhino and getting dimensions out of it and sending that on along with the logos, making sure they're all there.
That's right. Yeah. It sounds easy, but it's a lot of steps, right? I mean, you got to get your graphics right. A lot of people didn't do that. You got to get your file into Rhino, and then you got to make clean line work out of it. So, and then you're going to take that line work out of Rhino into Illustrator and save it as a PDF file.
Jim, why, my question would be why we have to like put it into Illustrator after we save from Rhino?
Well, what I would say is that there's a lot more flexibility you have in Illustrator. For one, you have the ability to change line weights much easier in Illustrator. If you're thinking about like when you would need 2D orthographic drawings, it's usually in a presentation format. So if you think about like the kind of multi-page documents you're putting together to present in a studio class, you know, there's usually other graphic elements in those things. Like there's text that'll have a certain line weight. There's usually, you know, additional supporting graphics that'll go into those documents. And so by putting your drawing files, your 2D orthographic drawings into Illustrator, it gives you the chance to match the look and feel of the rest of your 2D elements in your presentation with by using the same program. So it's just putting the line work into the rest of your 2D output.
Okay, I understand.
Yeah.
I would thought we can just export it from Rhino to export it the PDF from Rhino.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. If I just share my screen one more time, yeah, let's take a look. So here's a little side view right here. Okay, you just, well, let's take this perspective view. You just select what you want to export out, and then you go File, and you say Export Selected, and then it'll export just that line work. And so you can say Export Selected, and then you set the file type to Illustrator at the top. Hello, there it is. And knock that out, and then that'll give you an Illustrator file that you can open up. And then if you want to drag that Illustrator file into InDesign, you know, like it's just by bringing the line work out of the 3D CAD program, it brings it into the rest of the workflow with all the other 2D programs. Photoshop.
I got it.
Yeah, yeah,
Thank you, Jim.
yeah.
Sorry, Jim, I have a question. So, if we want to put some SolidWorks into the Rhino, should we export as or just drag them into Rhino?
No, in SolidWorks, what you're going to do is you're going to save your SolidWorks file as a step file. See this? Step
Okay,
file.
step, okay.
Like you're stepping from one program to the other. Yep.
Okay, okay. Thank you.
Yep. Okay, guys. Well, I'll let you go if you want to get out early. If you got more questions, I'm here for you.
I think I'm good.
Cool. All right. James is
Yeah.
good. Mo, Sylvia, Harish, Nico, you good?
Yeah, I'm good.
Good.
Yep, all good.
Thank you.
All right,
And-
guys.
Happy birthday again.
Yeah.
Hey, Jim.
Birthday.
Good night.
Yeah, come on, it's my birthday. I want to get off early. Let's go do something else. All right, cool.
Have a good
All
night.
right. Yeah, all right. Hit me up whenever. I'm sorry I didn't get back to you, jury duty and stuff, you know, but I should be a little bit more available. So if you guys get hung up on any part of this, and, you know, full disclosure, I'm going to try to get on that dimensions problem because that was lame. I'll fix that up and I'll send out a special video. One more note just to everybody. I've been putting the videos on YouTube again. So I keep meaning to let you guys know that. So if Moodle is still not working for you, then check the full DC3 class recordings playlist on my YouTube channel if you want the latest and greatest recording. Okay.
Cool. Thank you, Jim.
All right, great, guys. Okay, I'll talk to you guys later, okay?
All right, bye. Have a good night.
Night.
Good night.
Bye-bye.